Hello, everybody. Anthony Crane here with Pocket Coach. I'm going to share my screen and start my timer. All right. So today we're going to hit you with the value delivery acceleration backlog. Now, there's already a video about becoming a value delivery acceleration team, and it's called the first experiment. And you'll see it's the first one in the library. So in that experiment, we explained to you what it means to be a value delivery acceleration team. And in it, we mentioned that you should have a value delivery acceleration backlog. Here, we're going to show you a little bit more about how to make that happen. Okay. So, problem. We need a way to visualize which teams are leading the pack in relentless improvement or value delivery acceleration. And think of those as synonyms: relentless improvement. Why do we do relentless improvement? In order to accelerate our ability to deliver value. So there are just two ways to say it. VDA for short, if you don't like the mouthful of value delivery acceleration. I love relentless improvement. I also love the idea that we're accelerating value delivery. So I can go either way on these. So we need a way to visualize which teams are engaged in relentless improvement or VDA. And we also need to identify the experiments that are actually leading to positive impact so we can reuse them in other places. So the hypothesis is that if we add a relentless improvement work item type or a VDA work item type to every team's backlog, they'll be able to drive more improvement, and they'll be able to recognize those engaged in that journey, right? So we'll be able to see who they are and recognize that they're trying to do more than just their everyday job. They're trying to become stronger. This is a 4-week one, ask, pivot, or persevere every week, you should be good there. Typical outcomes: you should see an increase in all the team KPIs. Every team should be measuring their KPIs of how they're doing in flow and engagement and their learning, all these things. We have other articles and metrics, other videos on metrics. You can go look at those KPIs, but they're going to get better. Especially engagement. You should see much more engaged teams. Skill growth criteria you have added. So in order to gain the skill, in order to actually execute the experiment, you have added the work to a backlog and sprint plan. So you have stuff on your backlog, you have stuff on the sprint plan, and it represents your relentless improvement journey, your value delivery acceleration work for your own team. And you even demo whether those worked or not in your sprint reviews. And you track your outcomes in the comments when you close it, or if you have like a close, what is the word they use? When you close work, they call it a resolution. Whew, that was hard. So if you have a resolution field that you might want to use for successful or failed and whatever. Okay, so that's the basic experiment. So a couple of tips here. So one, you're going to want to build a framework to track these VDA or relentless improvement, RI if you prefer. So we need to capture your work. And so you can capture the stories if it's something you can get done in a sprint, features if it's something that takes more than a sprint but can be done in a quarter, or as an epic if it's like a multi-quarter initiative to make your team better, your arts better if you're using safe, or your tribes or whatever. So they, depending on the size of the experiment, you capture it. So that's all that this top part is here saying. Now, depending on your tool, the way you capture this can be quite different. Some tools understand products, like Microsoft Teams understands products, and we have videos about Microsoft Teams and about Jira and whatnot. So if your tool is product aware, then you can actually just say, okay, this story belongs to the VDA product. This feature belongs to the VDA product, et cetera, and you're good to go. And now you can do reports on, what products, what teams are engaged in the product for value delivery acceleration. If you're in a tool like Jira Align that really kind of forces you to trace all work upwards, and that's an anti-pattern, look at our video on product delivery to understand why that's an anti-pattern. But if you're in a tool that forces you to trace up, then you might create an epic at the top level that is a capacity epic. Some people call them container epics because they're not real epics. They are just a capacity container for that kind of work. So you might create a capacity epic. In that case, you might say VDA 2022, VDA 2023. That's the epic. So it's just a year long. These, again, are not good epics. Look at our articles on that to learn why. And then you'll also have to have capacity features for each of the quarters, right? And you're going to also want one for the backlog. So a backlog feature, right? And that might be VDA backlog. And that way you can put stuff on the backlog and assign it to that feature. You can put it into the current sprint, assign it to the current quarter, et cetera. And again, if you have a feature, you would trace it right to the epic. If you have an epic, you would trace it only to the product, or if you're using something like Jira Align, I don't know, to the strategic theme. Don't get me started. Anyway, so tooling wise, you get a little creative in order to do this. And now if you do all this, it should lead you to the point where you can do reporting And so with reporting down here at the bottom, you can generate reports that show which teams are running the most experiments, which teams aren't running any experiments. And understand that what we want to track is that they're running them. It doesn't matter if the experiments succeed or fail. Oh, and there's my 5-minute time box. Doesn't matter if these experiments succeed or fail. We want to reward people who try to experiment, period, because every innovation has tons more failures than it has successes. So what we need is to instill the pursuit of experimentation, even experiments that don't actually yield fruit. And for those that do yield fruit, we want to show the outcomes of those. And then we want to multiply them across multiple teams and see if we can't bring those great ideas throughout the whole organization. So there you go. That is the Value Delivery Acceleration Backlog Experiment. The idea is you put work into your backlog, you visualize it, you track it across the org, you look for those big improvements. And by doing that, you increase the power of your VDA teams. Please do check out the VDA team first experiment video if you want to learn more about VDA. My name is Anthony Crane, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Now to find my stop button.